Okay, are we live?
Are we putting any graphics? Your book again?
Hey, today's sponsor.
Today's sponsored by the book. Oh yeah, we're live.
All right,
Yeah,
we
we're
are.
live. Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Should I
All
keep
right.
Should I keep my hood on?
It looks fucking dope, man.
Does it look pimp with the headphones too?
Bro, you look good, bro. No matter what, bro. You're just gifted by the gods, dude. Like honestly,
We could just call it Good Looks Podcast. No, no.
only you, bro.
Shut up, right?
For the rest of us, it's like below average. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, we're a group of handsome gentlemen.
How about
Yeah.
above average?
It sounds badass.
Well, thank you.
Okay, guys, we're coming to you live. We got started late. I apologize greatly. I said approximately 9 p.m. and now it's closer to 11. You know what? You could blame John for that because John was like, yeah, post it on Facebook that you're going to go live. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. But then, you know what? I was like, you know what? 2022, I'm going to err on the side of execution, all right? I'm not going to overthink it. We're going to take action. Ain't that right, Mike?
Always gonna be right though.
If you ain't first, you're last. Ricky Bobby said it, and if he said it, it has to be true. So, a group of millennials here got together, and we're coming to you late, but oh well, guys. Usually in life, things didn't work out as smoothly as we planned them to, but like I said, I just want to take action, execute, and here we are. So, my name is Trae, 34 years old. This is Miguel. I'll allow him to introduce myself, and we'll go like that.
Yeah, this is Miguel. I'm 22 years old, and I'm ready to rock, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
John, introduce yourself.
All right. My name's John.
My name is John, and
How old are you, John?
Oh, I'm 26. Sorry, it's because it's a lot harder to like control and then think about what I gotta say.
He's the brains
Bro,
behind this.
that's why you're on camera. Okay, if you were not on camera, then you could just focus on that. But
You gotta
I'm
multitask
sorry,
right
John.
now.
I'm
You gotta
sorry. You have
multitask
to
right now.
participate. And you will get an award at the end of this for participation.
It's called
Tell
the
me I was
A for effort. A for effort.
We'll give you a ribbon. Mike?
My name is Mike. 33. Dang.
Dang,
I
man.
don't know where time goes.
Yeah,
though.
you guys are pretty old for me.
Oh, we're not trying to date, so that's fine. So that's good.
But you know what, man? We have a wide variety of minds right here, man. We've all had different like life experiences, and here we are together around the table. We want to talk about things that are relevant to us and what we believe to be relevant to society on a general level as a whole. We have Miguel. I don't really know his educational history or too much, but myself, I'm not an academic. I didn't go to college, but I love reading books. I've read a ton of books. Mike,
You've written a book. Hey, hold up.
What?
Hold up.
What? Bro,
Did you
why am I under
Hype yourself
myself,
up,
dude?
though.
For real.
Hype thyself. It's John 3:03. Thou shalt hype yourself up.
For real,
Oh,
bro.
it's chapter 4 actually.
No, but Mike has gone to college. I'll let him go. I'll let him.
Yeah, he's actually been to school. He's educated.
He actually knows what he's talking about out of all of us here. No. No, but he could further elaborate on that later. He got a lot
Yeah,
to
later.
bring
We'll
to
talk
the
about that
table.
later.
John, he has his own business right now, Eden Productions. Woo!
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Toast to that.
Amen.
Salud.
Hey, pa arriba, pa abajo.
I know whose it is, but
Eden Productions specializes in videography, photography, and he's also a temp. I mean, sorry, substitute.
no, intern.
Oh, intern. Sorry. But anyways, well, moving on. The whole purpose of this podcast again is, even though we're laughing a lot and we're having a fun time, I just want to talk about things that are relevant to us. There's a lot going on in the world. What do you guys think is one of the most relevant things off the top of your head that you could think of that you're either concerned about or you think it's important to talk about?
Damn. I'll take this one. Has to be the fact that the U.S. is so much in debt, and it's just going up and up and up, and there's just basically no way that's going down, or like how is that going to be fixed? It's a big issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest issues right now.
Well, like for somebody in our like age range and stuff, like how and like, can you explain to maybe our listeners, how is that profound? How is that relevant to the average 20 to 35-year-old or whatever, you know?
Because they're going to be paying more, bro. Like,
Bro, by the age, but when they're 60, their fucking taxes are gonna look gross. And we're talking about the U.S. dollar right now. Everybody's gonna move on from the dollar. Everybody's gonna move on from the euro. Everybody's gonna hop on cryptocurrency. Because that's a fucking future.
You think world governments are gonna allow people to really get on the cryptocurrency bandwagon? I mean, they want to be authoritative around things as simple as, like, I don't know. I mean, I would think things as simple as like automatic weapons, the things you say on Facebook, like they kind of want to. And I mean, maybe those are the tech companies. That's not necessarily the government. But I'm saying, I mean, the government is now. I mean, they're getting. I think it's safe to say, just generally speaking, regardless of where you stand, they're getting stricter on stuff.
Yeah.
They're getting stricter as far as, like, I mean, the mandates go.
Yeah, that's fucked. They're getting rid of our fucking First Amendment, man.
So you think they're just gonna let go of control of the monetary system?
I believe they're doing it on purpose, man. Fucking, when you look at the U.S. and what they're doing right now, they're just fucking pumping up the price of everything. And the dollar is gonna keep going up with these new deals that fucking Joe Biden he put in place. They're gonna fucking, these last till 10 years in the future. So and in 10 years we're gonna approximately gonna spend about almost 5 trillion. And that's fucked, you know?
well, here's the thing. Right now, I don't know if you guys know, but ABC News just put out this whole thing. Food's gonna go up 20%. Groceries gonna go up 20%
Bro,
this year.
food
Inflation,
has already gone up. Like,
it's
I feel
been
like
going
I'm
up.
feeling that.
And the reason I say that they're doing it on purpose is because in no way or
Who's
any-
there? Who's there? When you say there, who's
The government.
okay?
The big minds, the fucking people with big money. Amazon in the U.S., I don't know if you guys knew, they've been working for a long time
Together,
together.
they're banging each other.
Yeah, basically, bro. They're banging
Like
each
Mark
other.
Zuckerberg and like Facebook and the
Well,
CIA and the
got a
government, all that.
contract. They got a contract with the government as far as data storage, because Amazon has AWS, which is
Yeah.
Amazon Web Services, right? So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're trying to keep it low key. And they've been trying to keep it low key. Where I saw it on WikiLeaks. I got on WikiLeaks yesterday. I clicked on a little on that link, and I was reading all about it, bro. That these guys from 2008 they started using Amazon's fucking databases, and they're not in the U.S. and many people don't know where these Amazon databases are. And Amazon doesn't want people to know where their databases are because they're directly linked to the government.
Yeah.
And that for me is a no-no because Amazon has a lot of power already. Like this is one of the biggest companies that we've ever seen, and you can put them next to Tesla, next to Facebook, and these guys are working with the government, and this is we don't monopolize, you know? We don't try to monopolize in the U.S. Free enterprise. But for me, Amazon working with the government is already a no-no because that's already not infringing in our rights, but they can do whatever they want with that information. You know how fucking when we talk about Hillary Clinton and the lost emails, these people have the power to do whatever they want. And with our information, they don't even need to let us know when they're doing their moves.
Yeah, well, that's probably the thing that's more concerning for me because, I mean, I think there's in history, there's been a lot of private corporations that have gotten government contracts. So that's not so concerning for me. The thing that's concerning for me is the ability of, again, the computers, the drives, their ability for storage, and then what they're doing with it, right? Storing pretty much everyone's data, and the fact that there is no form of decentralized auditing for these companies to figure out what it is that they're storing for you. Matter of fact, I saw I believe it was a TikTok on this girl that tells you how you can go to Amazon and you could request the little bites, the sound bites that they've taken from you in reference to Alexa. And this like one girl was just saying like how she was blown away by the little bites, sound bites that they've gotten from her when she's not asking anything. It's just they just tap into her microphone randomly and just take little bites and you can request those audio files and you can listen to them. So that's the thing that's concerning
wild.
for me is the nature of the contract with the government at this point in time where we're at has totally changed. And not only this point in time as far as like 2022, the year, but as far as this point in time and where we are as a country, where the government is as far as like what seems to be their overarching like mentality towards this country and towards the people. It doesn't seem like it's no longer a government by the people for the people. That definitely doesn't seem to be, their mindset towards
of course
us.
not. Of course
But-
not. They want to give us the illusion that it really is, but
But let's swing back around to that. I want to give Mike an opportunity to finish his thought. Were you done with your thought as far as talking about the national debt?
I mean, basically, it's just going up. You look at the spending.
Because to you, that's one of the most worrisome thing right now that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, when everybody wakes up, it's just gonna be and figures out. Okay, when you ask yourself, what is a dollar like? What gives it its value? What was it in '71? Nixon takes off the gold standard,
Officially,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you look at that and you're like, okay, well, the dollar, it was tied to gold. Now it's not tied to, and it's tied to belief.
Yeah.
So when everybody else realizes, like, hey, they're just printing money. How much did we print during the pandemic? What was it? Couple trill, 3 trill,
3 trillion.
3, 4, or something like that.
what's crazy is
Hold on, I want to say one more
Go
thought
ahead.
about that, because when you look at what they actually did with the 3 trillion, it didn't go to the people. It was like a percentage. It was less than $1 trillion that went to the people. The other part of that went to other nations.
It was subsidized.
It went to just all kinds of.
what do they call it? They call in political terms they call it pork, right? It's like pork in the bill. Hey, we're gonna pass this. We're gonna pass this spending
They
bill.
called it the coronavirus. The what was it, spending package or
Yeah.
whatever? Let's just say, okay, I don't know the exact name. It's called coronavirus spending package. But when you look at it, percentage wise, the least percentage went to coronavirus relief, whatever.
Yeah.
The majority of it went to probably politicians' pockets.
I mean, I think it's safe to say, generally speaking, that that's what politicians do now. They paint this narrative that they can deliver to the public, and they get up on the podium and they're like, hey guys, we're going to pass this spending bill so that we can give y'all money, and everyone's for it, so they garner the support of the public via their representatives in Congress, right? And then they go ahead and they pass this bill, but then 90% of the bill is the quote unquote, again, what they call the pork, where it's like, hey, we're going to give money to this country where we have, and who knows what they're doing with these countries, Who knows what
where's the money going
who
to?
knows what their
What are they
ulterior
doing
motives
with
are
it?
with these countries? Who knows what the intelligence and the foreign policy has been in relation to these countries for years? Who knows really why they're giving these countries billions of dollars? I mean, when you just figure out what it is that we're spending the money on, you just look at the numbers. A lot of times it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But to them, like you said, these elites in government, they know exactly why they're spending this money. And those are the things that I want to know. But, kind of, I guess, let's break it down. Let's break it down for the average person, because, I mean, the average, I would say maybe people are looking more into it now, considering everything that's going on. Like, people are becoming more worried, and I think they're doing more research. Like, during the pandemic, supposedly a lot of people found out a whole lot of things because they were on YouTube and they were just searching. They have a lot of time. But the common American, I don't know, I'm not a statistician, right? But I would say the common American doesn't know the significance of the debt. Like, they don't know, hey, there's a spending bill of $3 trillion. They don't know, a few years down the line, I'm going to have to pay that back in my taxes somehow. Somehow that's going to have to be paid back, whether it's me or my children. Like, would you think it's safe to say that the common American does not understand that?
Of course. Of course.
So, unfortunately, by the time they do understand it, it's via this probably frustrated emotional reaction they get to the fact that they go to HEB or Walmart or whatever grocery store you want to talk about, right? And they're paying for their groceries, and they realize that their monthly groceries expended have gone up. by 20%.
Imagine
15%.
it's coming, dude. It's coming.
30%. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
check this out. When I was in college, I remember ramen because it's the ramen noodle diet, of which for a lot of us college kids. And I remember it was either 13 or 17 cents. Okay, and right now I don't know how much it is, but the last time I saw was what I know it's over 25 cents, 30 cents, something like that.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, I checked on ramen when I was eating ramen, fucking daily. 25 cents. 25 cents, that's where it was. Right now, I went to HEB, I think a week ago. It was like fucking 37 cents. 37
Oh,
cents.
And now I remember it was 13. I specifically remember it was 13 when after college it was 17.
but to give people an idea, you were in college when? What year?
Okay, yeah, so started in 07, graduated 11, and then grad school 13. So that was
So
13.
you're talking about 15, 16 years
And that's
ago.
why I remember it was 13 cents because I graduated in that's why. So it just hit me. So, eso. What was that at the beginning?
Sorry, I'm just testing some stuff.
Yeah.
out.
You're good.
Bro, you're like the freaking 8-year-old kid over here just like pressing
Hey,
buttons.
he's
over
having a
here.
good time.
We don't even know what's
Hey, so
happening.
are we,
don't
though.
have headphones. You guys are just laughing. I'm like, okay.
I hear it a little bit. It was like
How'd
an
you hear it?
applause.
Applause. It was an applause straight up.
Yeah.
I just, yeah,
Hey, you having fun, John? You having fun though?
I'm trying to figure this
Nah,
out.
he's figuring it out though.
But he's having fun.
He figured out how to clap for us.
All right, just
But
go on.
oh yeah, back to this freaking ramen. But that's the thing though. Oh, shit, Casper. All right, forgot what I was saying, but
Bro, but you're 22, Miguel.
Yeah, I'm 22.
Why is this concerning to you? Like, and how is it that these things that we're talking about, economics, geopolitics, world economics, like how is it that this grasped your attention?
Well, bro, from the very beginning, I consider myself a little bit more mature than what I let on and what other people might see me as a 22-year-old, After high school, when I was in high school, all I wanted to do was play soccer. I was not thinking about school. My senior year, I slept all my first blocks, fucking maybe even second block. For me, school was easy. Whenever the teacher said anything in the classroom, I would get it, like a sponge. And when I went to my house, did some more work, whatever. It was whatever. For me, school was whatever. So when I went to Mexico, I was playing for a third division team over there in León, Guanajuato. And at that time, I was nothing into politics, nothing. Like, my brother was into politics. He's 24 right now. But me, I wasn't. I was just living my life, trying to play soccer. And inside the federation, the Mexican Soccer Federation, you see the corruption firsthand. And you're talking about that this is a sports association which is supposed to help the young athletes get out there and show their skills. If you're good, you're gonna make it. That's how it's supposed to be. But when I was over there, you could clearly see who the owner of the club leaned more with. With my teammates, I had some teammates that, because I was part of a group of like 18 guys that were from out of the state of León. So he would have his favorites, but his favorites were fucking kids that he brought back from playing en la Selección de México. Fucking kids at 17-year-olds, those were his favorite, and the kids that paid. This guy started asking us to sell protein powder, fucking a bunch of stuff to sell for the team. But they give you money. The federation, the Mexican Federation gives the team the money so they can spend on whatever they need. And that shit was going nowhere near us. We were struggling to fucking pay the water in the house. Fucking our restroom was always flooded. Whenever you had to take a shit, you didn't pull your pants all the way down because it was fucking flooded.
Because it wet.
Yeah,
you get a little wet though.
Yeah, you would get wet. And after I came back, that shit was with me. Cause it's not only the Mexican Federation that's corrupt.
Oh,
it's
man.
the whole
Bro,
system.
what I said at the beginning, I want to take that back. Like, the biggest issue is not, okay, the debt. It's corruption. You know why? Because you could rewind the whole issue with the debt. The reason why we're in debt is because of corruption.
Bro, for sure.
Amen, brother.
So let's
Hold
get into
up.
that momentarily. But
Yeah,
okay,
man.
so let's
Yeah,
finish this out because
yeah.
I feel like I know what you're getting at, but I want you to bring it to. So
Yes,
I
go
mean,
for
what
it.
I'm hearing is that you're a young kid, you go to play soccer in Nuevo Leon, and you know when you're younger, you have this idea of the world, like from I guess you get it from like fairy
some
tale movies and stuff
fantasy
like that.
ass,
that
yeah.
good is gonna
Yeah.
prevail regardless.
Fuck
It's
yeah.
almost
Yeah.
like destiny that good is prevail, and then you have this encounter with corruption.
And reality.
Partiality and
Yeah.
reality, and what did that change your perspective on things, and then open up your mind towards other things or corruption and elsewhere, or how'd that work?
Yeah, so I started getting into all that. When I came back from Mexico, I was living by we came back from Mexico, and then a friend and me, the guy that I went with to Leon, we went to Austin. We went to live to Austin together by ourselves, and we're living like adults now. Like we went to Austin to train with a special coach, and he would help us out with the money, like economically a little bit, just for the training though. When we came back to the apartment, it was him and me that had to split a rent of $950 in between two guys. And I picked up a job at Domino's in the beginning. He had a job at Banana Republic, and it was just back and forth. We were just basically working like adults, trying to play soccer, and that opened my eyes. That I believe that made me a little bit more mature and a little bit more conscious of my money. And you know, when you get your paycheck, you see what they take away from you, the taxes, you know. And it's fucking heavy. It's fucking heavy. Like for me, I believed I was living already like an adult. I was already independent from my mom, and I started getting into politics. I was
Politics.
watching. Yeah. I saw some videos of Ben Shapiro, of Jordan Peterson, and for me, the way these guys spoke pulled me. It was very rational. It was very. It was leaning towards common sense.
Logical, you know?
It's just logical.
It's like-
they explain it to you, and you're like, okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I started getting into this whole like fucking hole of politics, and I started watching congressional hearings, and
Dang.
the way that Republicans talk to Democrats, and the way Democrats can't defend themselves because it's corruption. It's corruption in the face of it. When you see congressional hearings right now, you clearly see which side is the logical one, which side wants the better for everyone on the logical side. But when you listen to these Democrats speak, whenever they ask them a question, it's like they're always trying to evade it. They're answering questions with other questions, and they try to run the time. Because when you're a congressman, you have time to speak on the floor.
Yeah.
And that time runs out. Even though you're asking a question to someone else, they can run your time out just by elongating their not answer. You know, like elongating their answer, but they're not even answering. And you can hear those Republicans saying, "Hey, please answer my question." You know, you're just taking away my time. And when they keep doing that shit, they go, "Okay, you know what? I'm gonna ask you another question. Let it be on the record that you didn't want to answer this question." You know?
Yeah.
Shit like that. And for me, I was like, bro, like,
Who would be a
answer the
Democrat?
question.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like, who would be a Democrat?
Like, answer the question. It's not a hard question. But the reason that you don't answer it is because you would look very bad in front of the American people, because these congressional hearings, they're not for the politicians. It's for the American people to watch. But every time I watch, bro, there's like 30,000 people connected. Only 30,000. What's the population of the US?
320 mil. I mean, three. Yeah.
And-
So,
and-
around more or less, give or
yeah.
take, plus or minus 10 mil. Who knows?
Yeah, around 300 million.
It ain't
let's say.
30,000.
Yeah, it ain't 30,000, man. And that's why I feel people are disconnected nowadays, because we idolize fucking Kim Kardashian, Kanye West. and
Oh
that's-
yeah. So talk about the distractions, which that is a huge point to be made. Like, everyone's focused on everything else other than
And what you're supposed to be focusing on.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, bro, that's why the movie The Matrix is so profoundly like you're able to identify with it, like the way that it creates this movie type. What would you call it? A metaphor or an allegory, bro? About like really what's going on, man, bro. Like it's just so profound, and
It digs deep.
I mean, you're right, but then at the same time, you also identify with the common American because, okay, you're busting your butt. You're working 40 hours a week. You have a family to provide for. It's easy to understand how the top of your priority list is like food.
Yeah.
And it's also easy to understand how you get home at the end of the day and you're exhausted and you don't want to critically think about what's going on in the economy because when you start awakening, bro, like you did, and I mean probably we all have here, when you start awakening, you see like a first little problem, like you haven't gone down the rabbit hole yet of information yet.
Yeah.
And just that little problem makes you think like, holy smokes, like can I even do anything about this? Like this is going on, corruption, and let's say the intelligence agencies, this is corruption in Congress, they don't care, and I'm working a 40-hour work week at Swift Trucking or something. I mean, that's just like an example of the common reality of the common person. So what would you do? Are you going to critically think about that problem and add problems onto your problems, your existing problems of feeding your kids and providing for your family? Or are you going to turn on NFL and watch a football game and feel good for a couple of hours out of your whole week?
Or get the Bieber fever, go to concert, Taylor Swift,
Bro, what are you doing? What are you going to do? And that's also kind of like the metaphor. And, I think that's really representative of that one dude in The Matrix Part 1 where the dude's like, hey, look, I know this is the reality. And I know it's fake, but I'd rather just eat the steak and plug me back into the Matrix, type of thing. And I think that's kind of metaphorically what we do when we make that decision to turn on the distractions instead of thinking about the things that are important to us. And the crazy thing is, I think one side of us thinks, maybe there's something I could do, but the other side of us thinks like, you know what, somebody somewhere will do something.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as a society, I think we've just been doing that for so long that now this is where we are.
And it's gonna get worse and worse.
And I mean, bro, okay, real quick, on that note, that's what makes it hard for me being who I am, right? Born in 1987, 34 years old, I'm thinking about it all, right? And at this point where I'm at, but you look back at generations and you're like, man, like,
It just took
a
one
lot has
person to
changed.
do something. Because sometimes I feel like, for me personally, I feel like, okay, whatever I do is not going to make a big difference. Like, you know how they always say go vote and some of your vote makes a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, I sometimes like overthinking. I'm like, okay, is my vote really gonna make a difference? Like that one vote,
Yeah.
It like when we see the polls, it's not like by one, like the design factor.
Yeah.
I feel like it really takes like a group and like kind of influencing other people and stuff like that. Where I feel like it does make a difference is like something simple like picking up the trash somewhere, like like keep Texas clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
And it gets hard for like I maybe for my generation where it feels like okay, we need to have that influence of people. If not, we're not gonna make a difference. If not, then like okay, whatever. Let me just do something else.
yeah.
That's how I feel, at least for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's hard for me in a couple of ways. In one way that it's hard for me to understand the magnitude of the problem because, again, I was born in 1987. I was born with taxes. I was born with a certain level of inflation. I was born with the price of foods being a certain, right? But when you take a step back and you do your research in history, I think it was Lincoln who said, people that don't know their history have no future, right? And when you look at the grand scheme of things, you look, man, the early Americans, like they revolted over a 3% tea tax or something. Like if I had my great grandpa, well, my great grandpa was probably Mexican or something, right? Because I'm a Hispanic country, but
he built the Teotihuacan, no?
bro, yeah, for sure, bro. And I'm sure he got.
Or was it your
too.
grandpa? It was probably both of ours.
We're probably working together, bro.
Bro,
picking up those
Tino
rocks.
Chiticlan, bro.
Don't actually look it up. Just take our word for
Okay,
it.
yeah, but no, look.
Hold up.
Theoretically speaking, if I had my great grandfather there, and in theory, if he was an American that lived in those early days, he would be like, man, son, what you're paying in taxes is outrageous. Like, you need a I don't
stand
know,
up.
man. Go get a bunch of machetes and go. I don't know, man. Overthrow your government or something.
I think. Okay, do you guys know that little thing with the frog, right? With a frog in boiling water, it's like
Yes,
a la
yes.
madre.
Okay.
But if you put a frog in some chill water, right? But then you start to raise the temperature,
No se dan
it,
cuenta.
and by the time they know, it's a dead frog.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Ain't no dead dog, dead frog.
that's what's hard for it. There's a certain level of cognitive dissonance, and cognitive dissonance basically means you're submitted or you're proposed a belief or an idea or a theory that's contrary to what you've always believed. And it's very hard to accept something that's contrary to a previously existing belief system, especially if it's been ingrained in you since childhood. So that's one thing that's hard. The other thing that's hard is what I mentioned to you previously, is the fact that what can I do as one individual, right? Do I even want to do something? Do I want to go down that road, and spend all this time? Is it even going to be worth it, or should I just turn on the TV? But I think we're at a point in our culture where we have to have, I'm branching off into like a spiritual area and saying this, but we have to have faith that we can do something. And I think that boils down also, what makes it real significant is your worldview on something, your perspective. Like, do you believe in fate? Do you believe in destiny? Do you
Okay.
believe in like the goodness that you believed in when you were a little kid? Like, you know what, I'm gonna do something good, and it's gonna have more power and significance than just the act of doing it itself, because I know the act of doing it itself has no power.
Yeah.
But I believe that if I do something, maybe there's just kind of this like spiritual ripple effect within the souls and spirits of other individuals that, like, if I vote, maybe somebody else will vote too. Like, maybe it'll,
check
you
it
know
out.
what I mean?
So changing it from the frog analogy, just go to another animal, the camel. There's got to be a straw. You just add straws and straws, but then there's that one straw that it breaks the camel's back. So what do you think in terms of when are we gonna wake up? Okay, there's got to come a point to where, okay, like you said, we're turning the TV on and we're chilling, but there's got to come a point where it's like, dude, we can't turn the TV on no longer and watch TV because either we can't buy food, we got no jobs, our heads are falling out, and then it's like done. Like,
Yeah.
there ain't no watching TV there. You
And
know what I'm
it's-
saying?
and it's coming
And-
with this
and
package-
so
big
here's a question for y'all. What do you guys think is gonna be that point? The point is coming. Watch. That's why I said, and I take it back with corruption and all that. Or like the whole debt, right? It's like it's corruption. So the point is coming. So and it's coming sooner rather than later. You know what I'm saying?
Bro,
Like,
Very close, man.
what do you guys think it is?
Unfortunately, I think the answer to that question is subjective, and if you look down in history, you'll see that history proves that it's subjective too, in the sense that some people are gonna wake up sooner than others, and some people aren't gonna wake up at all, no matter how bad it gets. I mean, literally, the sky is gonna be falling on their heads, and they're gonna die.
And not knowing what to do.
They're not gonna wake up.
Don't look up. Stupid video.
And, but if we haven't woken up yet, when are we gonna wake up? I mean, I don't know, nationally who's gonna listen to this, but in Texas, if any of y'all know or follow the news or looked into it or whatever, last year around this time there was a huge statewide power outage where people were without power up to like 1 week long. Besides that, you've had supply chain disruptions. You've had groceries shelves being depleted. You've had stimuluses. You've had people go without jobs. You're getting to a point where you have mandates in certain areas where you might lose your job if you don't act according to their mandates or get the thing. I don't want them to not show our video if I say something or whatever. But we know the situation now, and if all of these things put together are not a wake up call to something like, hey, something's going on, something's wrong, at least to the point of like an emergency or a sense of urgency that we need to start paying attention. If those things aren't getting people to pay attention, then I don't know what will, honestly.
Yeah, and it will. It comes back to how society has changed throughout the years. Because if when we talk about way back, the very conception of the U.S. when in Jamestown, we revolted against the crown because they weren't fucking helping us. That's where we put our foot down and we said, you know what? No fucking more. We don't want any more of this shit. We're doing our own thing and we're gonna fucking prevail. That right now is not the case. Let me tell you why. Because we've gotten complacent and we've gotten too comfortable with society and everything's so easy for us. And now we trust the government so much when, obviously, when you look back, we stopped trusting the the English because they weren't helping us. Whatever the hell was going on back then.
I mean, to add on to that real quick, it was a few things, but what not helping us. Just to elaborate on that, one of them was a major thing was the taxation without representation.
Yeah.
So we were being taxed by a government that really wasn't aware of the problems we were dealing with over here because we're across a whole ocean.
Yeah.
For one, for two, we had no representatives over there to represent us with government. And that's actually really kind of similar to our situation now.
Right now.
I mean, if you grow up in school and you believe, separation of powers and checks and balances and Congress, and I have my representative in Congress, but who are they really representing?
Yep.
Bro,
we're talking about,
and look at Washington right now. Who are they representing? They don't even know the problem. Why do you think Trump got elected president? Is because so many people were fed up of politicians. They wanted dude. That's like kind of like a little forewarning of how dire the situation has gotten, and it's not getting any better. So think about it. You got this nation, right, who all across history, it's history, young history, 200 years, whatever, 1776, whatever. We've always had politicians, right, and that's why you have the electoral college, because back then, the average person wasn't informed to vote, and so all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's like, dude, we don't even want to vote for a politician. We want to have, that's a radical new thing. It's the thing about it. That's why he got elected, is because he wasn't associated with the politicians. So. And then, of course, dude, the media just, looking back, they railed on him every single day. You don't even see Biden in the news once a month. Like, how long was it till he actually showed his face?
Yeah,
the dude can't even speak. He thought he was running for the Senate.
I think it was the longest time any president has ever postponed any interviews.
Exactly.
For the longest time.
100%. And Trump is in the news every day for this, for that. They're making stuff up just because they hate him. Bro, I found out the other day the same people that own the same company that owns Fox owns CNN, and that just brings up another wormhole. It's like, dude, they really tried to pit us against each other. Division. They're trying to divide us and have us fighting. Here's another thing. The way we fight against each other, right? It means we're fighting with each other. It means we can't fight against the real people that we should be fighting against.
Yeah.
That's how the revolution came to. Remember, I think back then, they were just like, dude, these guys don't understand our problem. Like, we have a problem with them. That's how we got our independence, right? Now we're fighting against each other. It's either we're fighting against each other, or we're watching the NFL, or going to a Justin Bieber concert, or being like, ooh, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Or WAP on the other side.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Yeah,
what in the world?
Doing, man?
I think not only are we fighting against each other, but I think the fighting is also artificially magnified by social media and the media,
of course. Like, they're building it.
It's kind of like a projector. Like those, we're younger. Like, back in school, the projectors where it's like a little picture on the projector, but then they show it on the wall and it's like huge.
They magnify the crap out of it.
They magnify because, we're talking about how many, let's say, right, quote unquote, I hate using typical names for people and categorizing them and stuff, because when you really talk with an individual, you can learn, you could get on a playing field with anybody. But let's say, if we're conservative, we lean that way because, I don't know, maybe we want conservative government, or don't people want spying on us, encroaching up on our rights, whatever the case. Let's say we're that way or whatever, and you talk with a liberal, let's say, quote unquote liberal or a Democrat or whatever. A lot of times I feel like you could get on you could talk with them. Like, you could have a conversation. I haven't been in a situation where I'm talking with somebody and I'm like, man, you're way out there. Like, you're just, I don't know if there's any coming back, right? And I don't think there's been a situation like, I'm sure they happen. For sure they happen, right?
No, and it happens.
But I'm saying, generally speaking, I think the issue is magnified by social media, right? Because we read these posts and we read these comment sections, and a lot of times there's not a lot of context to and you can easily misinterpret what someone is saying on Facebook. And now we come to find out from the whistleblower that the way their algorithm works or whatever is also to magnify that to a certain extent, right? So, that's all I'm saying is, I think the division is magnified to a certain extent artificially by the social media, which is also a scary thing, because if you look at our history, we've had problems throughout our history. There was a civil war 100 years after the founding of this country, for crying out loud. But we're now in a situation where those were real problems. We're speaking about racism nowadays. That's a topic nowadays, right? But back then, literally there was slavery still.
Racism
you know what
put
I mean?
in action. Racism put in action.
It was, literally. And now it's like they magnify these problems, and I think they magnify the division again, like you said, to put the focus on something other than they want us to focus on.
Of course, dude. It's all a distraction. When you look at, I mean, their strategy, it's like, how can they wouldn't get away with the things they do if we weren't distracted.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the bottom line. So whether we're distracted with each other or with entertainment and entertainment celebrity, this,
Snapchat.
that, Snapchat, just all these little things that, Netflix, cable, I mean, just TV in general, like, which takes us back to the inception of TV, like back then. And the CIA realized in the fifth, like, they're like, wow, this black and white, this little box, we can put it in front of everybody's household, we can, that's why they call it programming. We can program whatever, and back then there was a couple channels, whatever. But think about how that's evolved now.
Yeah.
Think about the topics on TV, maybe 20 years ago, let's just take homosexuality. That's one example. We could take nudity too, bad words, profanity, whatever. But you look at the evolution of that, 80s, okay, there's really, it's unheard of, 90s, and then you look at the stuff now on Netflix that little kids can watch. Bro, it's crazy.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
it is
Like,
crazy.
Like,
It's because they
Like-
found like loopholes between that kind of like stuff. Because I was watching a video like kind of talking about how they advanced. How before they weren't doing like showing like, let's say, like the nipple or anything like that. But
oh
other
yeah,
countries,
now it's okay.
now it's
yeah.
okay. And now because other countries were doing it and they were getting more, so they they found little loopholes like sex
More
scenes,
money.
like a little train going by, like
It's
something
dude,
happened.
I like
it's
this.
just-
Lucy and Ricardo didn't even sleep in the same bed back in I Love Lucy days.
Bro, now it's a whole gangbang on TV practically. No, check this out. The evolution of distraction. That's like, if you look at it, so much more, bro. Like,
listen, and I saw it firsthand with my sisters. This was also one of the reasons that I got really into politics, because my sisters right now, one is 14 and the other one is 12. But like 3 years ago, when my older sister was 11, they would talk to me and I would listen to them, and they would, like, their friends are, and I'm not putting it mildly, they are crazy. Like, my sister's friends would, like, just slash their arms, like, fucking cut themselves because they're having problems with their boyfriend. And I was talking with my sisters about politics, and anytime I would, because when Trump was in office, I would really like to talk good about him, with my sisters most of all, because they were the ones that were getting pissed off. They were like, "Oh, you're a Trumpy, ew, ew." They wouldn't even listen to me. And,
ew, how?
yeah,
Ew.
and they would be, and they would be
Ewy.
all fucking day in their phones. And I would always tell them, "Hey, do something in the real world. You're fucking if you actually fucking put a timer of how much time you're wasting on TikTok, on Snapchat. 30 minutes go by that you could have folded your clothes. You could have folded your clothes, and mom wouldn't be fucking getting after you. That's what I tell them. But also with this LGBTQ movement, it started off with something good. People want to help people in a certain group like the LGBTQ people. But my sisters were on the other side, man. Like, they would ask me shit about transsexuals. Like, "Oh, do you think that this guy is really a man because she changed her sex?" I'd be like, "No, that's not a real man," Talking real stuff, And they would, like, block it out. They would block it out real fast. Very sensitive. They were very sensitive, my sisters.
I think right now the problem is like the whole generation is like real sensitive. It's real like you can't have a good conversation with
Oh,
anybody
yeah, that's it,
because
yeah.
like, oh my god, it's a big like offense already, and it's just kind of like, okay, they're not being open minded. They have
Everyone's
a close-minded-
polarized.
Yeah, because the media, I really feel like the media has really like just made everything kind of like a big deal out of nothing.
Bro.
Because like, and just going back to the presidents, I feel like Biden made a bunch of like promises and stuff, and about like one
He
of
has
us kind
not-
of taken off dead, like nothing.
In
has
his
been.
defense, he probably doesn't remember the promises, bro.
He was probably
Jeez.
sleeping,
Like, he
bro,
don't-
after the fucking press conferences.
Yeah.
He was probably fucking sleeping.
And the thing is, with Trump, maybe he wasn't the best candidate, but the thing was, he just wasn't connected to any politician. Or
Bro, he
anything
was
like
getting,
that.
honestly, he got stuff done. And when you look at what the media gave him credit for,
Yeah. Nothing.
They
Like,
didn't give him credit. They give him credit for starting riots, for
I know.
paying strippers,
They even
porn star. Like, look at the stuff they gave him credit for, and look at the stuff he did. There's a huge disconnect between that. Like, it couldn't be in Biden. Like, I really don't. Have they given him credit for anything? Like, what's the deal with him now?
Bro, you know,
Bro, who
I,
even knows about like why is he our president?
I follow the Democrats on Instagram, and when he went into office about 3 months in, I saw a post that said, Joe Biden has created more than 300,000 jobs in this amount of time in 3 months, and they compared it right next to Trump. And when you look at it front face, you're like, oh, okay, he created that many jobs. But if you actually look at what's happening, okay, he created that many jobs because during the pandemic, all those jobs disappeared. And now that you're opening up society a little bit more, you're getting the jobs back. It's basic math, but they don't show you the basic math.
Yeah, you can point the numbers in what direction you want to. Like, you can mess with the data.
Exactly.
But, I don't want to go too much in that direction as far as those details without, like, I feel like our
Actual
audience
proof.
really understanding the fundamental problem, because the actual source of the problem goes a lot deeper than that. And I think we were touching on that when we were talking about corruption and stuff like that. And
Oh yeah.
so, I mean, we're speaking about Biden. We're speaking about one branch of the three branches of government, which is the executive branch and stuff. And we're speaking about policies. But when you look deeply into the details and stuff, a lot of these policies aren't really, they don't, where they start is not with the president. They start with some advisor. They start with some lobbyist that, submits a bill, and somehow it gets before the president, and then somehow it becomes all these. So the question becomes, hey, where are these things starting? You know what I mean? Is this guy really, is he really in control? Is he really the one calling the shots? And what was crazy, and I'm just going to say it real quick, and then we'll go deeper into it later. But, looking at that newly released documentary, JFK Through the Looking Glass by Oliver Stone, where it speaks about how, and some might consider this irrelevant because John F. Kennedy, this was back in the 60s, but it is relevant. I'm going to say
Highly
why
relevant.
it
These
is. The
freaking
reason
corruption
it's
up the butt.
relevant is because we see how John F. Kennedy gave a green light for the Bay of Pigs and how it was a failed thing, but how the intelligence and the military actually manipulatively advised him to give the green light, knowing that we were going to lose in that thing. So what I'm saying is, there's some people in high places that are telling or advising our president, or telling him what to do, or pointing him in a particular direction of policy that they want him to pass, and they could easily be deceiving him 100%.
yeah.
And he could be passing a policy, and it's just not what they say it's gonna be. So, again, I don't think really which president is it. I mean, yes, of course, it has a problem, but I wanna go a little bit deeper and talk about those fundamental issues, and then build up to how these problems are manifesting themselves in the details. But, while I don't know if you had an opportunity to finish the thought on how you got into it, if you can just, speak on that point real quick, because I want to speak real quick on what brought me to start looking into these things. And then Mike was actually instrumental in that too, but I'll get to that in a bit. But, you were speaking about how something happened with you. What was the point of that?
Yeah, well, the point of that is that my sisters were not tied to reality. They were not tied to reality. Anything that I would tell them that is real in the real world, that shit that actually happens. Real quick example, bro. When a fucking zebra dies to a lion in the wild, if you look at it from a video camera, it looks fucking bad. Like, this tiger is fucking, or this lion is fucking the zebra up, and it looks gruesome and all this shit. But that's reality. That's the way of nature. You gotta eat and you gotta survive. And I would just put that video to my sisters, or but with I would tell them before, hey, I'm gonna show you a video. This actually happens in nature. They would just fucking close their eyes.
And they'd be like, "Oh, the lion's mean."
Yeah, no, like, what? Why is he doing that? Why is he doing? Okay, I get it. That's very sensitive. Let me show you something else. Like, maybe someone bad mouthing, or not bad mouthing, just saying straight out facts. Like, my sisters, they watch videos of transgender activists, and they get really offended by what Ben Shapiro says or by what Donald Trump says. And they couldn't give me a reason why Donald Trump is racist. I would ask him, "What do you think about Donald Trump?" Oh, he's racist. He's mean. He's
Like the
corrupt.
lion is racist against the zebras just because the zebras aren't lions, you know?
Yeah,
And they got to eat them. They're
exactly.
racist.
And he's
Picture racist lion.
and he's bad. And I would ask him, but why is he bad? Why is he? Can you point to something that he's done, something that he said? And fucking, they would give me the bullet points of fucking MSNBC. Just he's racist. He offended a lot of people, and
Caused riots and stuff.
yeah, like all that shit. And for me, all it was my sisters not being tied to reality, believing something that isn't actually true. Like those fucking pronouns, which I'm tired of, the z, they, zer. They're just destroying grammar. They're just destroying grammar.
Yeah.
They is supposed to be a fucking, what do you call a group of people, or two or more, and now you can call an individual they. There's no limit to the amount of pronouns that these kids have. How is that tied to grammar? How is that tied to logic, to any sense? And for me, it was the media that was brainwashing.
Well, I
me.
mean, when you kind of look into what they're teaching now in the younger, as far as like what critical race theory and these new things at these elite universities, it's pretty much a fundamental belief system that there is no objective truth, and that objective truth is really it's racist in its intrinsic nature. It's racist in the sense that it's created by this patriarchal society that we've lived in and we've always lived in, and we're blind to the fact that there is no objective truth. And you know, if you claim that you have the objective truth, then you're obviously a great big part of this problem, which is this patriarchal society that we live in.
Yeah,
So what you're getting at basically is that you saw this in your sisters, and it really concerned you that being so young, they're growing up like this.
And especially because I have the American flag in my room on the wall, you
Yeah.
know? And when we first put it there, my brother and my sisters were like, ew, why? That's that. But fucking leading me to believe that they thought it was racist, you know? Like, no, don't put the American flag. Like, you know, it's illegal. I'll be like, fuck no. In my house, nothing's illegal, you know? I run this shit here. I run the show here. But they would get offended by just me hanging up the American flag. And for me, that's a big problem, because we are the best country in the world, talking about personal freedoms and talking about the way we come together when we have problems.
And we want to keep it that way.
And we
Yeah,
want to
keep it
you
that
know?
way.
And for my sisters, which is the upcoming generations, to think that America's racist, or that our founding fathers were evil because they had slaves, that was just a way of life. If they had taught you that you can have slaves, and that you could fucking run a business with slaves, you would fucking do it. You don't have to pay fucking money for them. You would do it, you know? It's how reality is. And for me, that was a big problem with my sisters.
Yeah.
That's my ending thought.
Well, I would say for that, for one, they say that, well, I don't know about females, but I know the male mind doesn't fully mature till there's 25. And even if you do mentally mature, I'd say that generally speaking, your eyes focus where the light shines.
Yep.
And that's kind of what the media does, and Hollywood, and you know, we were talking about that. So I can understand, and I can empathize with, you know, what your sisters and how they come to believe that way, which is highly unfortunate, right? Because they go to school and the majority of their friends, and when you're a friend, peer pressure is a lot more powerful than it is the older you get.
Yeah.
The older you get, you're like, man, I don't care what you
Yeah,
think
fuck
about me
you.
or what you say or how I dress. When you're a kid, you care 100%
Yeah.
what people think about you. So, you know, that's the major mentality and what they're growing up. That's what they see on the news. That's what they're getting, you know, either directly or subconsciously or subliminally through, you know, TV shows and Hollywood and all that stuff. That's what they're getting.
But you know what's
So-
crazy? The crazy thing is that, like, my little brother, he's not like, he's young, he's like 10. He believes anything like anybody tells him. Like, legit, you can tell him, like, oh, this is like 10 feet tall, you know, and it's obviously maybe 20 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'll come home, be like, oh, dude, did you know about this? This happened. I'm like, well, who told you that? Like, oh, my friend. I'm like, okay, my thing is, like, do a little bit more research, ask more people, you know, people that are probably knowledgeable, not another 10-year-old who's giving you information, you know, who
Yeah.
probably just on Facebook or on news, or his mom who maybe is like, real out there, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just like, now people are not wanting to do the research. It's just, they're just being a little bit lazy about, like, okay, you know what? Yeah, that sounds right. You know. Okay.
That's the issue right there, and that's really what I want. Like, if I could say one of my main goals in this podcast, that's it, so that people think freely. I mean, let's just say that all belief systems right now are valid.
Theoretically
And we're
speaking,
like all belief systems right now are valid, and we're gonna search out, and we're gonna debate about, and we're gonna dialogue about each and every one of them to see which one is the best, or which one is true or not true, or if we should even believe for there to be objective or subjective truth or not, right? So that's what, let's just say critical race theory is valid. Let's just say, the all the pronouns, they have a perfect. Let's just say we would accept someone's belief system, that they believe that people should be saying that, right? That's the starting point for us. But for me, I want to make a real quick point about something you said. You said that back then, there was slavery, and that's just the way it was back in the day. I think that what makes America special for me is that if you take into consideration and you look at all the nations that owned slaves throughout the annals of history, which was a whole lot, right? The thing that sets us apart, you can say, is, well, you can call it our Judeo-Christian foundation that's kind of ingrained or sewed into our founding documents, be it the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. But, and that's really what I'm getting at, is our Constitution. Is the thing that makes us different is that we had slavery, but based on our Constitution, and that all men are created equal, even though it might have been misinterpreted by other people, and at one point they were like, okay, well, what's a man, right?
Yeah.
Is a black person a man? Is a minority a man? Is a Mexican a man? You know what I mean? Is a Native American a man? Nah, a white man is. Even though at some point there was these beliefs that that's what a man was, we ended up getting to the point where we believe that all men, as defined as all men, all races, all colors of skin, all ethnicities, that's what we came to define it as. And we actually played on the Constitution, right? And that's what Martin Luther King did in his great speeches, where he said, I have a dream that all men are created equal. He quoted from some of our founding documents, and it was that played on the conscience of Americans to where that's where how we got to where we are now. So when you say, you can, I feel like that's one point, and that's one valid reason why you can't say that America is intrinsically racist, because actually we can see historically and prove through what I just said that is actually our founding documents and the things that we've declared as a nation, that why we're not racist, and we've actually used those things to fight against racism and eradicate racism, or more specifically slavery.
Let's go ahead and wrap final thoughts, because it's almost gonna be an hour that we've been on here.
So what?
Well, it's getting late, bro.
oh, I thought
What
You know
time is
what
it?
I
I'm
mean? Like,
hungry.
wait, so we can keep it going. There has to be an episode 2. But
We can't spill all the beans right
exactly.
now.
Okay, well, you know
Yeah.
what? Fine. On episode 1, there's one thing that I want to speak about, and because you say how I just want to speak, and I'd like you to speak about it, and maybe you too if you want to, right? But me, the thing that kind of like woke me up and got me going down this road is, I'd say, maybe 3 things. One of them primarily, and it may sound like a common cliche or whatnot, but one of them was that I had this kind of like spiritual awakening, and there was a series of unfortunate events, and I'll talk further about it later on. But either way, I felt like God got my attention. I was at a point in my life where I was really distracted. My mind was on other things. I was real temporary minded. I was short term minded. I had very narrow minded thinking. I'm just looking at I'm thinking about instant gratification. I'm thinking about how I'm gonna have fun. God got my attention. It kind of opened up my mind. I started thinking about these things, and let's say to get more specifically, I ended up like kind of resurrendering my life to God. And what came along with that was that I eradicated a lot of things from my life. So in the practical sense of it, I got rid of a lot of like magazines and books that weren't conducive to my spiritual journey. I actually at this time, like and I'll go again deeper into it later on, but I renounced gang affiliation. I stopped hanging around with a certain group of people that were, again, not conducive to what I felt to be God's plan for my life and my destiny. And then again, that opened up my mind to other things. So I started reading a lot of books. And one of those books that I ended up reading was, and I had actually been interested in reading this book for a while because of its title, but it was Suicide of a Superpower. Will America Survive to 2025?
Oh,
Bro, I mean, that title just grasped my attention.
Yeah,
like, I had wanted to read it,
pretty
bro.
pimp title.
Bro, I read that book, man, and I mean, it talks about a lot of things. I mean, he spoke about our problem in the educational system. It speaks about how there's been trying to be like this in different areas of our country, whether it's education, military, et cetera, but it's almost like there's this, like, you know,
plot to bring us down.
plot to bring us down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I read that book, and then that got my mind thinking, like, hey, there's a sense of urgency here. It spoke about the debt. It spoke about our educational system.
Yep.
It spoke about not just the LGBTQ and all that whole thing, because I'm okay with the individual and civil rights of an individual, but in a certain way.
Not when they're pushing
Right,
it on.
and you know, when I get into that, I'm more like a constitutionist, right? A constitutionalist, right? The 10th Amendment of the Constitution says all rights not direct. It's something like this. I'm paraphrasing. All rights not directly reserved by the federal government shall be delegated to the state and local authorities. So my belief system, or political belief system on that, is like, hey, do whatever you want, but if it's voted upon at a local level, right? I don't want anybody to be imposed anything upon at a national level, right? You can't tell all of us, you know, there's gonna be gay marriage. I mean, well, that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Gay marriage, abortion, whatever the case may be, mandates and stuff. Like, whatever the case may be, I'm not in agreement of it happening at a national level or a federal level. I'm more for, like, happening at a local level. That's not something the federal government should be worried about. Our military, they should be worried about our monetary system. They should be worried about a couple of little things, and besides that, you know, let everybody live freely, right? Yeah. So that's my system. If you want to do it in a certain county, that gives people, for one, it minimizes division. That's the reason why. For one, it minimizes division. For two, it gives you the opportunity that if you don't like what's going on in your county, you can move on to the next county, right? But if it happens at a federal level and you don't like what's going on, that's where there's a big problem, and people are so angry about, you know, the next incoming president, because you're like, hey, this is going to affect me hardcore. But if the new president is coming in and you don't agree with his policies, but you know they can be implemented upon you at a national level, then what do you have to worry about to a certain extent, right? So that's that one. But anyways, moving on. I had read that book, and then I met with you, Mike. Remember, we had that conversation, bro, and you told me about the 2 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition being purchased and stuff. And
bro, this was the FEMA camps.
Man, that took me down the next rabbit hole.
The FEMA camps, the coffins, the this, the that. The thing, it goes back to Rex 84. Like, I mean, so there's been this plan for a long time to gradually, you know, it goes back to the freaking frog analogy, right? The frog in hot water is like, I don't know, you know, die, but it's comfortable, and you slowly raise the temperature, and by the time you know it, you're in deep trouble. You're dead. Yeah. So, and of course, that's the way it's been when you look at the history of policy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that going back to the 71, you know, taking the gold standard, taking the dollar off the gold standard, and now it's like nobody really even knows about that, but it's such a, like, fundamental, like, fact that, yeah, it's like, dude, okay, just because it was so long ago, like, when this happened, so many people weren't born. Like, the majority of people watching this probably weren't even born when it happened. I wasn't, you weren't, none of us were born. And the fact that we know about it and we look at, like, damn, like, this cannot continue. Like, when is it gonna end? Like, it has to end.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just, it's like, what are we gonna do about it? What is there to do? I guess that's the point of the podcast, you know, just to kind of, like, what's the next step, or, like, what's gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? Stuff's gonna hit the fan. I mean, it's been going back to the inflation. It's happening. They're gradually raising the temperature on Little Frog right now, and it's gonna get to a point. Of course, what do you call it? Not taking into account something crazy happens, because remember, Afghanistan is now in the hands of ISIS, Al Qaeda, all the terrorists now again. So it's not like they magically love us. They really don't. Go to the Iran, the nuclear deal. They're still trying to get nukes. They say death to America every day. That's their whole. I mean, there's things happening. So take the economy out of it and the inflation and the this and the debt and all that, we still got other problems that can actually overnight turn the temperature and kill us like boom. And there's another thing. It's like there's tons of little things that can happen. What do you call it? It's very delicate right now. Like we're walking on glass.
And I do want to get into that in our next podcast, and we will get into it further in our next podcast. But one thing I want to say now to set it up for the next podcast is the question is, how is it that how are they able to seemingly pursue and fulfill to some extent in certain areas these agendas over a long period of time, right? I mean, if a president has a 4, maybe an 8-year term, and that's his limit, right? And there's not really congressional limits, right? So they're talking about that. There's not congressional limits. And then Supreme Court justices, they have a long time. Where is it that they're able to pursue this over time? And what it seemed to me, and again, I'm going to refer back to that documentary I saw, JFK Through the Looking Glass, is this is the crazy thing about me. The guy who was I think he was the chairman of the Warren Commission that decided on what actually happened during the JFK assassination.
I heard about that.
He was the head of the CIA. This is what it talks about in the documentary. I encourage any of our listeners to check out that documentary. It's pretty mind-blowing. On that note, they've just recently released declassified all the files for JFK, which is at the National Archives in Maryland. So a lot of people have been looking into that, and they give a lot of that information on this newly released documentary. But my whole point is that this guy was in the CIA from like shortly after World War II. He was in the CIA shortly after World War II. Now, mind you, just to give you a context, after World War II, this is when Operation Paperclip happened. This is when they smuggled Nazi scientists over to America under Russian, right, under the guise or whatever of Russian authorities, right? So this is this guy. And then you move into the 50s, you move into the 60s, and you move into what happened with JFK. Now, JFK was mad after the whole, this is what they say in the documentary, he was a little bit frustrated and angry about the whole situation that happened surrounding the Bay of Pigs. So he wanted to like audit or, defund these intelligence agencies by like 40, 60%. And, they submit that they were not happy about that and potentially could have had something to do with his assassination, is what the implication of the documentary really makes. But my whole point of this is it begs the question: if you have intelligence agencies that are deeply involved in our foreign policies, that are deeply involved in the overthrowing of governments, that are deeply involved in, and we know now in a lot of different ways that they're involved in certain movies that are made, certain narratives that are spun in the media. Again, you're talking about the contract between Amazon and the federal government. You know what I mean? To what extent these intelligence agencies are involved in that, who knows? Do you think these people are just going to let some president come in that's going to be here for 4 years and just totally derail everything they've worked their life for?
Yeah.
Their life.
Yeah.
That's how I feel it is. Presidents come and go. Presidents come and go every 4 years, every 8 years. But at the end of the day, the government has moved one way. It's always moving one way. Even though there's a president in power, this president in power, for me, I feel there's always somebody that's on top of the president. Not somebody, some fucking...
I think it's more a group of people.
Some group of people that are monitoring the president.
Because one person cannot do like everything.
Yeah, it's got to be a group.
Exactly. And for me, presidents come and go. They're not really...
It's like a fraternity. Call it the Illuminati, whatever you want to call it.
I mean...
The cabal.
The cabal. You'd have to be hard-pressed to believe there's not some sort of collusion on one or a multitude of different levels.
Of course.
Especially if you look at the documentary Through the Looking Glass, JFK, Oliver Stone. Watch it. Because in that documentary, it seems to be that there's collusion between the Secret Service, the FBI, and the CIA. Mm-hmm. And that's just one example. I mean, we could talk all day about examples here.
And once again, the real question too is why don't they release all these documents then at the time when it happened? Because it's gonna cause chaos.
Yeah.
Like people are gonna be like,
security.
dude, our president was freaking killed by
our own
government. Like, damn.
There's a lot of questions. To whom do these people have allegiance? If this is, to whom do these people have allegiance?
And that's all on the next episode.
Who are they working for? Yeah, again, we're gonna get all that.
We can go on and on about like one little thing and then something else. Because we started off with our names. So let's go.
Bro,
Let's
next
say
for
some
episode
stuff.
2,
Yeah.
let's set the record for the longest podcast.
Bro, are you sure you don't want to go down in Guinness today, baby?
Yo,
I'm
call
just
him,
saying,
get it, homie.
the camera already went out. I just didn't want to tell you guys, but
Lies.
well, one camera.
Yeah, one camera went out.
Like
Shit.
Yeah, our
Trey's
camera.
camera's still on.
So, like for instance, right now I'm naked. The camera's out.
So
Yeah.
dude, for the
I
looks
pulled.
good, he looks
Yeah,
good.
I pulled that on and Antonio Brown. You know, like. But you can't see me though because the camera's out.
he just has his watch.
Tune in next time. We're gonna try to do this every Monday, theoretically speaking, podcast. You can find us on YouTube and perhaps other avenues. And with that, you guys have a good night.
Camera
God
2 is
bless.
out, and so are we.
Have a good